in these fun, consciousness-expanding episodes hosted by myself, Kimberley Leite, where we discuss the world of the mystical and how this world can enhance your life experience, along with spiritual teachers and leaders from around the world. Join us as we explore subjects including the Ascension and Oneness teachings, Law of Attraction, channeling, spiritual healing, psychic explorations, and various other journeys within the mystical, esoteric, and metaphysical realms. It is a journey behind the veil of our reality, and it's a journey of awakening to the powerful being that you truly are. Hi everyone, and welcome to our next episode of Mystical Musings with Friends. So today we have the guest Cindy Kim on our session today, and today's session is all going to be around light language and what is light language. So Cindy, welcome. Thank you for joining us today.
Thank you for having me here. I'm really excited to be here.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So Cindy, for those of you who don't know you, tell us about yourself.
Well, I am a practitioner in California, and I conduct QHHT sessions and also BQH sessions. So that's just doing past life regressions and having the client channel their higher self or their guides to answer the questions that they bring forth in the session. And I also do something I guess you would call like sound healing modalities. And one is doing a biofield tuning where I'm using tuning forks and crystals. And that just allows me to tune the mind, body, and spirits, really tuning your aura, your biofield, and also your chakras. And then lastly, what we're talking about for this podcast is light language. And I do one-on-one sessions with clients. And also I just started offering a digital artwork of basically light language codes. And so I also have a YouTube channel. It's mostly light language transmissions right now with some hypnosis sessions if there is a greater message for humanity.
Wonderful. And I've come across some of your work, and it's amazing. And not just the vocal sound alchemy, but I've come across your digital art, and it's just amazing. Like, apart from the light codes, of course, like with the energy coming through, but just the artistic expressions through it is wonderful. But Cindy, how did you start to discover that you could do light language? How was your story like leading up to that?
Yeah, so I didn't know how to speak light language at all. The moment I heard it, I really wanted to learn it. Well, I didn't even know you could learn it. I just thought, you're born with it and you just start channeling it and that's it. And I learned to be clairvoyant. I took clairvoyant classes. It's something that there was a teacher who stated that we can tap into our clairvoyant abilities and that we're all psychic. And I was like, all right, I'm going to take her up on it. I'm going to learn to be clairvoyant. And sure enough, I learned to be clairvoyant. And of course, when I saw, Jamie Price. So Jamie Price channels light language. She's super popular on YouTube. I was watching one of her videos and she was offering a workshop on how to learn light language, and that all of us can learn light language. And I immediately knew I had to sign up for her class. I also was having a lot of QHHT sessions where clients were coming in with questions about light language. And so there's too many synchronicities of where, if my clients are coming to me with light language questions and I'm working with them to activate and remember how to channel light language, and then I'm resonating with all this, like with light language in general. And then I see this, that Jamie Price is offering how to teach it or how to help you tap into your gift. I'm like, it's a no-brainer. So that's what I did.
And it was meant to be, of course, like nothing happens by accident, does it? So there were all signs for you. And that's the thing, like we all have these gifts within us. We can all channel. We have the ability to bring forth light language. And, it's just following the guidance and the steps, what resonates with you and following the breadcrumbs, and then you'll discover your gifts. And of course, some people might
you know, have the soul contract to really focus on that in their lifetime, but we all have the ability to channel. But, you know, that's wonderful. And actually, Goddess Isis was my guide here, my teacher, and she actually told me my journey with it. So like for me, for instance, she is my teacher now, like in lifetime now as Kimberley, but she was also my teacher in ancient Egypt and also in the Palladian system, but she was known like other than Isis then. So she showed me this and told me this. So I'm like, okay, so it kind of makes sense how the sounds are a bit unusual, not kind of human-like. And yeah, and then she said, and then she kind of referred to the name of sacred sound alchemy. And then the beings of the light, you know, whom I channel, they're saying it's, you know, tones of creation, harmonies of creation, tones of the gods. And when they said that, I was like, that, whoa. At the time, I was like, whoa, that seems pretty like huge. I'm like, I don't know. And of course, at that time, I mean, it was what, within the last couple of years or something, I kind of felt a bit like, not, I don't know, maybe not worthy of it almost. It's like, whoa, what is this power I have? You know what I mean? So I kind of like, I did it within myself, and then I eventually started to offer it to other people. And then even they, you know, the feedback I got was how powerful it was. And then, you know, so I know it was something I supposed to explore in this lifetime, but it's, you know, it's so powerful. And obviously since I discovered light language, I've discovered there's a whole heap of, you know, variety of light language. So Cindy, you know, do you want to talk about like the different types of light language and even the ones that you provide in more detail?
Yeah, so I channel 4 major energies. It's galactic, it's ancient earth, angelic, and elementals. Lately, I do channel a lot of ancient earth, and it sounds very indigenous and like the Maoris and like the Polynesians, and it's like very deep. And some people can misunderstand it for being scary, and it's not scary. What it is, it's just more of, it's a lot of energy to move energy. Like it's almost like clearing energy. So it's allowing you to create space to allow other energies, more helpful energies. And that's kind of like what I get. And sometimes like I'll even channel like Tibetan monks, like it'll sound like chanting. And I never know what it is that I'm going to channel. It just kind of happens. Galactic is another one that I channel quite a bit. They can talk really fast, they can talk like really slow. And then with elementals, they talk really fast. It's like a feeling of lightness and happiness. And it's just like my whole body will kind of like crunch up because it's like, they're just like they're just like so high energy. And then angelics, they're just so loving and supportive and beautiful, and it tends to be more in a singing. I tend to sing light language when it's the angelics, and like I'll just have fun with it and just channel different kinds of beings. So I have a unicorn guide, and they are very distinct in how they sound, and the unicorns don't really fall into the bucket of any of those 4, but it's just like, it's just so much fun to play with it, just kind of setting the intention of, I want to channel leprechauns, and leprechauns sound so distinct, so different from, you know, the trees or the dragons, or, you know, so it's just like, it's fun just to kind of see what it sounds like.
That's amazing. Because yeah, I've heard some of yours, and it's like you do really feel like you feel the energy. I know I'm very sensitive to energy, so you know I can feel it, and it's just interesting how there's so much light language out there, and it's coming through different forms. You know, like for instance, yours is very, I guess, distinct. And I've noticed, I was listening to, I think was the galactic one of yours, one of the most recent ones. And I could tell it kind of changed like throughout the session. It kind of, it's in a way, it changed different languages. And I found that very, very interesting how the style changed.
It always changes. So you can tell when a language is changing when my voice changes. Like that happens all the time. They're always vacillating, and I never know what is going to happen next. I just literally just like, all right, and consciously I'm aware of it. I'm like, whoa, that's really different. Oh, whoa, my mouth is moving really fast. Whoa, yeah.
It's very, very interesting, and I can understand how, like you said before, some people might misinterpret it, because some light language out there can seem quite confronting, because it's such an unusual sound. But you know, like, you know what the beings of light say through me, that is that sometimes these sounds are not from Earth. So in our human minds, we try to analyze it to try and compare it to a sound that's like, you know, based on Earth, and sometimes they're not. So because of that, the sounds are kind of can be a bit unusual. But I find that once you can, even though you might, if how strange they are, to kind of release that resistance, because I guess as human beings, sometimes if something sounds very unusual, we kind of have a resistance. I'm like, what is this? Judgment. You can just like let it go, like go of the resistance, then you can actually tap into it more.
Yeah, I mean, you're right, because light language is a language of your soul, right? Of the heart. It's not based on your mind. And so you really have to let go of the ego and the analysis of what it is that you're listening to. You just have to allow the energies to come through. They're multidimensional languages coming through. There isn't an some people can very few people can interpret what the light language is actually saying, but that's why we always set the intention. You set the intention of what the light language that you want to bring through, and then you just allow it to happen. It's almost like when you're drawing and you're doing artwork, you just go, okay, I want to draw this, and you just kind of draw it, and you just go with the flow. You don't go, okay, now make with a circle and do this and do that and do like that. Just kind of restricts the whole flow. And so it's not about translating. It's just allowing and just what do you feel? What do you sense? What do you are you seeing things with your mind's eye? Are you having thoughts? Are you having emotions? Like that's what you really need to tap into. It's almost like a meditative state of being and just allowing.
Yeah. And it's interesting, like when you do these different types of light language, that you do feel different energies happen within you. And, it does bypass that ego, which I found, and this is how I describe it as well. It kind of bypass, it's what I describe it as is meditation on steroids. Because the effects you do on meditation, it might take some time, but with what I find, personally with me, when I do my meditations, now I do sound alchemy, light language, and it just like, it gets right in there. It really connects me to my higher selves. And when I'm in that state, I am, I can receive messages, like really vivid messages. They show me a lot of things, and it's just, I can actually see and feel my various higher selves. And it's just like, you're really tapped in through using light language, where what they've told me, the light language that I bring forth, of course, they all have certain unique, and of course your tensions, this is very, very powerful, because, I guess fundamentally we would say that light language, it really helps to bring more, light into your cells. And what I find very interesting is what they've said to me is that it helps to activate dormant DNA. So that's why you feel like high during it, because it's like activating you. And it also helps you to release programs that's no longer needed. And this is why, when you do meditation, sometimes, especially when you start doing meditation, you have a lot of resistant thoughts like, this is no good, and I've got things to do, and a lot of things, because you're processing and you're purging. So the light language, especially when you meditate with it, is that how you find it? It's kind of like at the start, all these like thoughts of the day, all these kind of programs that you've attached to fear and dualities are kind of being purged from you. And then when you allow that to be released from you, that's when you start to feel the real ascension, and you feel the high energy, you start to receive the intense guidance. Is that like a similar expression, like meditation on steroids? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, with meditation in general, like if I stop the chatter, then you can just focus more on what's happening with the body. Yeah. Like I sense a lot of vibrations that go on. Sometimes I see things. A lot of times when I channel light language, though, I don't see a lot of things going on clairvoyantly. It's literally, I am just a conduit of energy, and it just comes through. And I also sign light language, and I just allow my hands to move where they need to go. And just by that, based on like how much, like what's happening with my hands, like am I pushing things away? Am I pushing things down? Am I moving stuff around the crown? Am I moving things over to the right side, which is the masculine side, the analysis part, the doing part, or am I moving a lot more over here to the feminine side, which is all the intuitive part. So I just by that alone, I can sense what is happening with the energies. And also, is what am I channeling? Am I channeling ancient earth? Does it feel like, because sometimes when it happens, like I'm literally like moving my hands, like I'm like a warrior going, whoa, and I'm just like moving and just like, and I am, everybody channels differently, even though they might channel the same language. So my Palladian light language might sound very different from your Palladian light language. Each person's a different channel, and we all have unique energy signatures. And so it's going to be a different experience.
And we actually imprint energy with our intentions. That's how powerful intentions are. So that's exactly how I work also, using intention. So whenever I do light language, yes, to have there is like the fundamental kind of things that happens with light language, but then with the intentions, you imprint the energy with the intentions of what the client wants to work on or what you want to work on if you're doing it for yourself. And it actually, like, obviously, like for instance, me, because I'm quite sensitive to it, I actually can feel this. So if I, have the intention of I want to tap and connect more to my higher selves or feel more the power within me, when I do that intention, that actually does happen, and because of my particular abilities, I do have those certain abilities, like such as clairvoyance. So I can see things and feel things in a whole different array of different sensations. But that's why intentions are so powerful. And, everyone can do this. And, some of the sessions I've done, they've, taught people this way, you can imprint energy with everything. So light codes are everywhere, aren't they? Like, yes, me and you, light language, the more common way to know it is through, the written form, the hand signing, the vocalization. But just for instance, doing like when people are painting, there might be, light codes in there. You can do it with light and sounds, all different kind of things with your imagination, because what we've been conditioned to do is that our imagine is make-believe, but it's not. When we see things, use imagination, we're tapping into different dimensions and we become the God creator. And that's a powerful process that we can all tap into. For instance, some guidance that have been offered to other people, publicly, is that, to go within and then, for instance, imagine there's a golden flame within your heart center. And then just when you connect with that, just, vocalize, make the intention to vocalize and to assist with this vocalization to help you connect with who you are. And it could be simple as that. Something simple, you can start doing your own light language, and what I say is that it's all unique. And what happens is that people can compare, like, oh, it doesn't sound like this, so it may not be light language. So they kind of, you know what I mean? Like, they don't think that what they're doing is powerful, but everyone is unique in this.
Right. Yeah. So, you touched on like how it sounds. So for me, when I go on YouTube and I was looking at other people's light language and how they speak, they all sound very similar. And so when my light language came through, it was the first time I spoke light language, it was a really deep, like Tibetan monk going. It sounded like one of those really long horn things that go down as one. It was so loud and deep, and I'm like, am I channeling light language? Because I've never heard this from anybody else. Everyone has this really beautiful sounding light language, and I'm like, I don't know if this is true. Is this real? Is this real? Is it real?
Mm-hmm.
And and then I'm realizing, no, I'm just channeling different energies, and and that's fine. Also, with signing alone is powerful. So just because I was experimenting with it, and I started losing my voice because I was just trying to get used to all of the energies that were coming through with light language. And so I had to, when I was practicing, starting out, I was just using my hands, doing sessions, setting the intention, and then just using my hands. And the feedback that I got, it was so powerful for them. And
wow.
For me, I'm just like, really? I thought it was just like a complimentary thing that you do when you see your thing, and that's it. But no, it is its own distinct light language. I don't think people are ready for just hands, just signing with my hands, because my YouTube channel is mostly it's just audio. And so if I if they're just listening to silence, I think they'll be like, this isn't working. What is this? Like, I think they'd have to see me visibly. And I think that maybe that's a limiting belief, but I think it's baby steps of like, it's kind of a huge jump for people to just to see nothing, hear nothing, and know that it's there versus seeing me, being silent, and just moving my hands.
It's just the energies and people that, come in on sessions, just how powerful it is. Like when I do it just within myself, it's powerful. And then I want to do it with others, like online, because obviously energies, there's no such thing as time, basically in energy world. So, it doesn't matter if you're online, outside of the world, you still feel the energies. And it's just like, when I do it with a group of people online, it's just, the energy is like completely high. Like, it's like I need time to ground, and it's just incredible. Like the energy that you feel. And, it's just, I really recommend that people, obviously check out your work and discover it for yourself. Cause everyone has this ability. And, just with that as well. So like, for instance, you do various types, and there's another form, obviously we both do the sound, light language, but what a lot of people tap into is the written form, the automatic writing form. And it's very interesting because I notice a lot of people do that. So I don't know if it's just me, but I find that's even more common, maybe the written form. And it's interesting how did you come across it? So when you started doing light language, were you doing the hand signing first? Is that how you started and then the sound came?
So in Jamie Price's workshop, you learn all four. So there's four major ways of also channeling light language that we learn. And it's speaking, it's singing, it's signing, and then it's also writing. So we learned all four at the same time during the workshop. And so it's just more of like afterwards, like I just put it upon myself to practice. Like, the more you practice, the more you strengthen that connection. Just like with anything that we do, right? It's like, if you want to channel, you need to practice channeling. If you want to do automatic writing, you got to do it every day. It's a muscle that it's your third eye muscle that you need to exercise. It's atrophied so much, or it's calcified. And so you got to do all these different things to kind of break free and like kind of build that muscle.
And another really cool technique that the beings of the light share is that you can imprint the water with the light language. So it's not just, when you do light language, whether it's the written on paper or it's signing or it's using a voice, you can actually use that energy to imprint things, which makes it even more exciting. And I do that actually with my drinking water, what they say is that, connect with your heart center, and everyone can do this. And then, when you connect, this is as an example, imagine a golden flame, and then as, make the intention, imprint the energy for this light language to maybe heighten the vibration of the water or whatever intentions that you want. And then when you vocalize, imagine that gold light coming out of your voice, for instance, and then imagine that light going into the water. Or you can do that, with your hand. So you can play around with this, so there's many different forms, and everyone can do it. I know, for instance, like me and Cindy might do this in a more intense way, for instance, because we're supposed to explore it in our lifetime here, but everyone has the ability, just like everybody has the ability to channel. So if there's something that resonates with you, you can do it. Like, it doesn't matter what comes out. I mean, over time, the sounds coming out of me has shifted, has changed, but you get to know, if you just allow this to flow from your heart center, you'll be able to feel the energies, and just practice it during your meditation. Who cares? Like, you don't have to record it for others. Just do it for yourself and experiment. Like, you can imprint everything. And it's interesting, with light codes and intentions, it's so powerful. And, the doctor, Dr. Emoto?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like he did all those experiments, like with, the water, how the molecular structures of water changes using words. And what are words? Sounds, vibrations, codes, right? So even just by speaking, we're actually expressing light codes, but we don't even think of that. You know what I mean?
Right, even our thoughts too,
yes.
very powerful.
Yeah.
You're talking about, how we can all speak light language, because I just posted my video last night on activating our light language ability. It's actually, it's so synchronistic that you're even mentioning it. And so in the video, I kind of talked about, like how you can start how to speak light language or how to get it going. And it's really like, you know, you just have to just move your mouth, just kind of like get it going. And it's going to sound like gibberish. Like I can't even speak gibberish anymore. That's a way for you to know if you're speaking light language. If you can no longer speak gibberish because you are speaking the light language.
That is cool. Yeah, because I like, for instance, for me, mine, like when you listen to mine, it doesn't really sound like a language because it's not really words. It's literally just me humming sounds and vibrations. But like I said, every now and then there is some interesting sounds coming through. But you will feel it, you know, when you're expressing what's in your heart, just let it out, you know, and it's a releasement too. So when you're doing this process, it's okay to, like, a lot of people have emotions, intense emotions, because they're, you know, they're releasing the pain and the trauma so that they've stored within their physical bodies and their energetic field. So when you experiment with this, when you play around with this, know that it's very intense, and you know, you can feel the whole range of emotions. Is that a similar experience to you, Cindy, with you and your work and your clients, that people tend to have a really strong release as well when doing it?
Yeah, so a release can be in a multitude of, you know, forms. And so sometimes just by feeling an emotion somewhere or feeling a sensation, sometimes people will, I mean, it varies. It really does. Sometimes they feel emotions, like they feel something kind of like being released from their head, from their crown. Sometimes they feel like something's being released from, you know, different parts of their chakras. Sometimes it's just seeing a beautiful colors, or it really just depends. When you do sessions, do your clients have detox effects? Because that's something that can happen. And so I always tell clients, you know, it doesn't happen often, but if it does happen with light language, and just make sure that you're aware of it. If you're tired, then go to sleep. If you have, you know, a release of emotions, just allow that to happen. And if you want to minimize it, then just, you know, go in meditation and just kind of like really recognize it, right? And then release it. Like, because you need it to pass through you. You can't just keep holding on to it. I mean, because the light language, like the Reiki work that you do, the light language, all of it is releasing the tension, the charge that's in your cells and letting it go. And, you know, if you have a lot of anger or a lot of fear in your, you know, since birth or even past life, you know, you got to let that go. I mean, that's ancestral stuff, like the dark night of the soul, right? You got to like go through that before you can be reborn, or you can be the phoenix and move forward, or it's like the tower.
And, you know, there's a whole different array of emotions, but definitely there is a detox. I find like when you get that energetic high, you know, you're being activated, but after a while, like you'll need to drink lots of water, ground yourself, because a lot of energy, and then your body will likely do need to rest for a period of time. It's kind of different to channeling. I mean, you're still consciously, I don't know how it is with you when you do light language, but when I do it, I'm channeling, and I often channel how I do it because Isis has been my guide here on earth and elsewhere. So I'm guided. I mean, I can do it without her, obviously, but I'm guided at the moment to channel her while doing light language. And it's kind of cool because you're kind of observing, but you're not. And then you like, for me, for instance, I then embody like all my higher selves, and because of the abilities I have, I can visually kind of see them and stories about them, and how I'm existing in the multiverse and all these kind of interesting things. And I could never have that experience without light language. Like I needed something this powerful to do that. Of course, it all happens in divine time. There's so many people awakening to these abilities, you know, the light workers, because it's time of great awakening. And that's why so many people are being activated, not just with the light language, but so many other abilities. Are you finding that?
I think more and more people are really interested in learning about light language in general, because there are, like when I listen to YouTube channels, some spiritual leaders they start talking about light language. And I think that kind of gets people going, what's light language? And they start searching for it and like seeking it out. And they're like, oh, that's interesting. Like, I want to learn more about it. Or they might pick up a book and learn more about it, or continue. You know, so I think, yes, more and more people are. And I think the fact that I was even guided to do a light language video transmission on activating people's light language ability, I just feel like, since, you know, my channel is mostly light language, so I'm assuming the people who are my subscribers are actually wanting they're interested in light language, and there's a reason why they're interested in it, right? I mean, it's not just because it's because I think they're ready to channel light language. And I think people feel that maybe they can't channel it because it's just not active. But if I can learn how to channel light language, then anybody can. It's just a matter of, do you want to? What is your belief system? What is your intention? And are you going to act on it? So I encourage, your listeners or anybody who's interested in light language to just try it.
In your experience, because, you did learn all the different types, what would be, I guess, the most, not easiest, but is it different for other people? Like, obviously for me, I still don't do the written light language. Mine's all verbal and hand signing. But for others, when you learn it, would it be more easier to do it the written form, or it doesn't matter in your experience, which one you start with?
For each person, I think it's very different. Like, some people have an affinity towards speaking or singing or signing or doing written. I find spoken light language really easy. Like, it's really, it's so much fun too. It's just just set the intention and boom, it just comes out. Written is really fun too. I'll set the intention and I will close my eyes and I will see kind of which, do I want it a portrait, or do I want it landscape? Do I want it a square? And then I just kind of know, I can see it. And then I see the first drawings. Like, you're just using your intuition. I just look at the color palette and I go, okay, that's the color. That's the color. And then I just kind of draw. And then, sometimes when I'm drawing, I'm like, I don't know about this. This looks like a mess. Like, are you sure? What is this? And then later on, it actually turns out better than I expected. And I always check in with my guides. I always check with my higher self or whoever I'm channeling. And I go, is this complete? And they'll say yes or no. And if it's no, I'm like, okay, show me in my mind's eye what I need to do. And then it'll show me what to do. I'm like, okay. And I do it. I do a couple more things. And I ask again, is this complete? And they'll say yes. And then it's done.
Wow. That is very cool.
That's my process.
It's good.
And then I'll do automatic writing with it. So if I'm channeling a particular, ascended master or an archangel or whoever it is, then I'll do automatic writing. Okay, tell me what this light language is about. What message do you have for the collective?
But what you love about it is the written form. It's just how beautiful it is. And there are actually codes, sometimes they are just pictures or paintings, but you can feel the energy coming off it. But you look at them and it really looks like a different language from another world. And it's just amazing that people can tap into it in a written form. And then now they've obviously got the written ones, but now I know you do this and I've seen other people do the digital versions. And it's just, even if it didn't have light codes, just the actual artwork of it, it's amazing. And then things are moving and you can make parts of it move and all that kind of thing. That's amazing. And do you want to talk a little bit about that? Because I find that written expression very, very interesting and how that's expressed.
What part of it?
Just how it's for instance, when you have put it on digitally on paper, do you see a uniform language, or do you see, for instance, a bunch of symbols, you don't know what the meaning is, but there may be a combination of different languages or codes? In your experience, how do you interpret what you digitally?
So even with the codes, I don't interpret them. I just set the intention of what it is that I want to draw. If somebody is channeling light codes that are Lemurian versus Arcturian, there is kind of a distinction as to what it looks like. I don't necessarily channel those light codes per se. The Arcturian light codes are very geometric and dots and curves, and it's really distinct. But yeah, so I don't know really what to say. I guess I just kind of allow whatever happens. And I've been really interested in unicorn energy, and so their energy is really different. There are a lot of lines that go through and they're very flowy. I started channeling dolphin energy, and when they come through, it literally looks like they're like V's that come out, and then there's like, it almost looks like water coming out of a whale's spout.
You know, I know that one of my high selves is Hathors, you know, and the Hathors are very attached to, you know, vibration and sound. So it kind of makes sense that, and I learned this actually after I discovered my form of light language. Doing obviously my meditations using light language, I kind of met different high selves of me, and then one of my high selves is a Hathors, and then I use sound and frequency. So I'm like, even when I'm doing it, it's like the high self of me then takes over. Even though I start with Isis, I kind of go through all the different higher selves, and because just the abilities I have and the sensitivities, I actually do feel their unique energy. So like, for instance, one of my high selves is Aphrodite. So then I stay with Aphrodite, I could feel her unique energy. Then I move to another high self and I feel another unique energy while I'm doing the light language. And with the Hathors, it's cool, and I can see the vibration and using the hands. But what I find with all the different higher selves, it carries over, you know, that same light language. So like for me, it doesn't change that much, because I guess, so like for instance, when you do it, it's why it's really cool how everyone channels so differently. You channel like, it's very, depending on the collective, it's different. Whereas mine's kind of uniform, right? It's kind of uniform no matter what I channel. So that's another thing too. You have to keep your beliefs open, because some people might perceive that if I don't feel anything, it doesn't work, you know, or it's nothing's happening. But if the more we're open to it, then you're more receptive to those subtle energies. You know what I mean? I think that's an important thing as well.
Yeah, that's a really good point of just because you're not feeling it doesn't mean it's not working. That's
yeah.
And it does depend on your openness to it. Are you really fully open to it? And even if you are, sometimes maybe it's just going to take a little bit more time. It took me a while to actually feel the energy of crystals.
And it's really cool as well. Like another expression is like I've seen is through dance, for instance, movement. So I guess it's an extension of hand signing, moving Absolutely. The body, but moving. And I've done that sometimes. It's not my main focus, but just personally, I felt guided to do certain movements and stuff. And when I was doing that, I guess, I don't know if it compares to like a Tai Chi type thing, but and I could feel that it was like, whoa, like his energy. I mean, it's something that a lot of people probably explore as well. So many different ways to explore it.
Yes, you can sign with your hands and your entire body. Absolutely. And that is, it's your moving energy. It's like Qigong or Tai Chi. It's like they already knew.
Yeah. I remember when I did it, when I was about to tap into like just movements, I was doing all those kind of unusual movements, and then I started getting flashes of my life in Atlantis. So I do like any kind of light language. Those of you who are sensitive, and those of you watching or listening to this, you are probably sensitive. Otherwise, you wouldn't be watching this. You're interested in these things. It resonates with you. So, you know, you do definitely have these abilities. This is how powerful light language is. And it's just, and like any form of channeling, everyone has this ability, and it's just experimenting and believing you are worthy of it. When I started to do the light language, especially what Isis said it was, like tones of the gods, harmonies of creation, it's like, whoa, you know, like what, you know what I mean? Like it seems pretty big, like, and then when I was connecting to the Hathors, I was doing like with me, it's like, it's kind of like I'm doing attunements with my hands, also with my head, like my head moves and these kind of interesting things. And I could see, it was like I was doing this kind of energetic spiral. I can't really explain it, but it's like I had the knowing. It was like I was creating a whole universe. And I was just like this, whoa moment, you know, like, I don't know if you had any kind of whoa moments. It's like, shows you glimpses of how powerful this is. It's much more than just singing or, you know, connecting to yourself. There's actually a lot more with light language that probably we don't even know yet. Because would you like, do you see this kind of thing as more new? Like, when did you start to see light language appear around? Like for me, I don't feel like it's been around that long, but maybe I was just not ready to come across it, perhaps.
I think there's a tipping point right now, which is why we're hearing more about light language. Because I know Jamie Price has been doing light language for, I think, 20 years.
Okay.
One of the pioneers of light language, of really, you know, she taught us everything that she learned in her 20 years, right? Making it really easy for us, of us having to reinvent the wheel. And she has a book, I think it's called Channeling the Light Language. And it's an amazing book. So if anybody out there is interested in learning about light language, I highly recommend that book.
Actually, before we started recording, there's a Facebook group. If you're interested in like language, exploring what it is, there's a Facebook group called, was it Keepers of the Code? And you'll find a lot of people share their light language there. So it's kind of a good way to discover a whole heap of different light languages.
Yeah, and she also, Suzanne, she's the admin for the group. She does a light lounge. And so I think I don't know how frequently she's doing it now, but I think it might be monthly. And it's free. And so people can just listen in. They're just invited to a Zoom and they can listen in to light language codes. They don't have to participate or speak light language, but just, just to be present for it. So I think that's kind of and then, and if you feel like you want to, it's a really safe space. So if you wanted to try your light language, you can, and there's not going to be any judgment.
That's really, really cool. It's really good to have that. And also when I do my group sessions with Patreon, I also say, like, if you feel guided to your own, then this is a safe space to do so. But it's just amazing how this time of Great Awakening, not just people that are channeling more, but people doing light language more in many different forms. And just on another note with the different forms, can you talk a little bit about like the process of digital, because I'm seeing that a lot now, like the digital format. So what actually is the process? Like, do you do the codes and then you kind of scan them in the computer? Like, how's the process of doing that?
I use my iPad, and I have an app that I use. Some people use it. Some people are actually using Photoshop, so you can do it that way digitally.
Yeah, and it looks beautiful as well, and you can make things move, and it's really awesome. Do you actually have any apps, like if people wanted to start experimenting with light language, is there any top of your head, any apps that people can use?
I love Procreate. Procreate is awesome. But there's plenty of apps that are out there, and they can just kind of look for drawing apps and see. I really like the iPad just because it's portable and it's large enough that I can actually draw.
I encourage everyone to get out there and practice, and just if this conversation resonates with you, then yeah, just everyone has the ability, whether it's just connecting, doing a more meditation, but make the intention. There's something me and Cindy both emphasize here, is that the intention is very powerful, and you actually imprint the energy. So yes, there are general effects that light language gives you, has certain effects like activating, the dormant DNA, sending more light into your cells, purging, programs that's no longer needed, helps to connect you more with who you are. It can activate more of your like psychic and divine abilities, but you can add to that with your intentions. So whatever you do, just make the intention, and then just go from there. And did you have anything to add on that subject with just how people can tap into light language?
No, I think you summed it up really nicely.
Oh, wonderful. And I also recommend, like I said, there's courses out there too. So that's another cool way if you want to, get into it in more detail, and that's available too. Wonderful. Well, Cindy, thank you for, being a guest on this podcast. It was so fun to have this conversation.
Same here.
Oh, wonderful. So Cindy, where can people find you?
So they can visit my website, balancedalchemy.com. I'm also on YouTube. You can just do a search for Cindy Kim Balanced Alchemy. And I also have an Instagram account. I think you can just type it in, same thing, but if you want the actual handle, it's balancedalchemy_Cindy Kim. I'm also on Facebook.
Wonderful. Yes, I recommend you check her out. And like, it's just got, Cindy has a YouTube channel, so you can actually, listen to some as well. It's very, very cool. And for those of you, want to find my stuff, obviously, you can find me on beingsofthelight.com, find the YouTube links there. I've got, Podbean, Apple Podcast. If you check on my YouTube channel, Ascension Meditations playlist, I've got some light language sessions there under the name of Sacred Sound Alchemy. So yeah, check it all out. Check Cindy out. She's amazing. All right, everybody. So love and light to you all. Until next time. Farewell.